So let's talk some Starlink. So Johnny, you played, so I'm gonna go ahead and defer to you on this one.
Starlink, I did not know much about before I picked up the controller. I just watched a couple videos from yesterday, and I knew the R-Wing was in there. So of course I picked the R-Wing. There were a few different pilots you could choose, and I guess they have different powers or attributes or something. I was surprised at the density of the loadout screen, the customization stuff you can do, moving weapons, and you can change out wings on the different ships. There were quite a few things. We didn't get to mess with the Toys to Life part of it, where you're building your own custom ship, but even within the game, just on the software side, there's a lot you can do. And once I had all that set up with the R-Wing, it launched me into orbit around a planet, and I was looking around. The demo guy was like, "Your objective's down on the planet. Go down there." And I was like, "Hang on, I need to take a survey of the sky here." There was some kind of strange anomaly not too far away. I could see some capital ships, frigates off in the distance, like kind of a little bit hard to see, but there was some stuff. It looks like it's at least like a full solar system to fly around and go check things out. There's like a hyperdrive you can kick in to get you across large distances faster. You can't really use that once you enter the atmosphere. But yeah, eventually I pointed down to the surface and kicked on the engines and went on down there. And it's not as physicsy as No Man's Sky, but similar kind of feeling of going from space down through the upper atmosphere and then right on down to the surface, and it's all continuous. It doesn't take that long, but it's a nice feeling to think that when you're playing around on the surface of a planet, you're kind of still in the entire space environment, right? So the planet is a subset of the space environment rather than like a completely different thing that's loading in and out, and they're continuous, which is just a great feeling when you're in a spaceship. The idea that you can go up and down whenever you want, you can fly anywhere else on the planet. I pulled up the map, and it's a sphere of the planet, and the map fills in as you fly around and check things out, so you can actually, like, if this was my first time on the planet, I could trace the pathway as I made my way from one objective to another, and I guess you could explore the whole planet. It looks like it from the auto map.
Yeah, it looks like they're like waypoints, and not waypoints. They're landmarks to discover, and like popping up things like, oh, you discovered this, you discovered that.
Well, those were enemies he was killing for the most part.
Some of that was. I don't think all of it was.
Oh, okay.
There's definitely a lot of features down there. There were a lot of crystal structures. It was kind of an icy planet, but then there were other environments as well. The ship controls down there are a little surprising because I would say it does control similarly to No Man's Sky. It's fairly simple, but you do have full 3D, 6 degrees of freedom. 6, maybe just 3. I didn't see a lot of rolling and yawing, but maybe 3 degrees of freedom. You can control the engines up and down, and it's a very much an open world kind of flying thing. It's not like Star Fox. It's not even like, it doesn't even feel like all range where there's this kind of big area that you're fenced in and you can go do stuff within here, but it's like the whole planet is available to you and you can fly around and do things, and if you're having trouble with this thing, it seems like you can just go do a different objective somewhere else.
The objectives looked like they were primarily take down enemies, but maybe that's just for the demo.
Yeah, at least so that we've seen so far. But you load out different weapons on each wing, and you shoot them with ZL and ZR. And once you get into a combat situation, at least for me, there were a couple that it kind of forced me to land, sort of. But it didn't really land, it's just you cut the engines, and now you're just sort of skating in your ship over the surface of the planet.
Right.
And it feels a little bit more like the Landmaster in Star Fox, and it controls kind of like that, too.
That's what it looked like. I mean, it looked like you were on a Landmaster.
Yeah, and you have independent control of your movement and your look, aim. And yeah, you're shooting your weapons. Some of them charge up, some of them home, etc. The combat was pretty challenging. I was having a little trouble aiming, but I would have liked to have tweaked it, inverted my y-axis and stuff like that. I chalked some of that up to it. But when you're on the ground, yeah, you can jump, you can dodge, you can jump and then dodge, or jump and then boost, and kind of fly around a little bit and get around. And fought a boss that looked kind of like a Monster Hunter, sort of, or bigger than that. Really,
it looked like the enemies from Star Fox Zero. The big hulking things.
Okay, yeah. It had like rock armor plates on it, and then before certain attacks, like it would raise an arm up, and if I shot it, like its armpit would glow red, and if I shot it there,
mine does.
I had a few second window there, and if I shot it there, then it would be stunned, and this weak point would open up on the front where I could really do a lot of damage. But there were a lot of smaller enemies coming around there were. The irritating thing I found about the combat is that at least in that particular battle, I kept getting knocked over, and I would have to hit B to recover. So the ship would just get flipped or turned on its side, and as I was trying to skate around, strafe, keep moving, keep getting different angles, all the smaller enemies all over the place were kind of constantly in the way, so I would knock into them, and then that would make me tumble more. So I was having kind of a hard time maintaining like full control and situational awareness. But it's a very 3D game, and I did verify that in the middle of the fight you can just sort of kick the engines back on and run away and go fly elsewhere. So yeah, that Starlink is like, when they showed the Toys to Life thing, I thought, well, this is probably going to be fairly simplistic, and that seems like the main draw. But having actually played it now, there's some real meat to that game.
Yeah, I mean, most of the Toys to Life games tend to be skewed younger. This one doesn't seem to be going that angle.
Right.
It's more, techies or science fiction fan type stuff. So it seems to be targeting an older audience.
Yeah, so the one thing that we did observe, though, is that when Johnny would lose a ship, it wasn't like, oh, okay, down one life. It was, go ahead and launch your next ship.
Right.
And all the construction stuff he talked about, if you actually have the ship installed, it's like a replacement for the Joy-Con grip. Where the Joy-Cons connect in, where you just build your ship out of like Lego-style pieces out of it, and it detects what configuration you have. We saw that it was like, oh, go ahead and build your next ship was the command it gave. Now he just went into the pause menu where there were ships that had been pre-assembled. I wonder if the act of unlocking that hardware comes from the act of buying said toys to give you more ships to build.
That would pretty much equal buying extra lives.
Yeah, effectively. Now they're different ships though, and that's how you could justify it.
Fair, yeah. I don't know. My guess would be that the mount, if you're using that ship mount controller and building a ship modularly onto it, that would be yet a different ship than the ones that we saw in the game. Right?
Okay.
So maybe that would be like your fifth. We had 4 in this demo, so maybe that would be the +1 ship. So maybe you could get 1 extra life from that, but you wouldn't depend on it for all of them. But yeah, it wasn't a big deal. Like when my ship got blown up, I would just hit pause and switch to a different one and keep on going. You can also pause and change the weapons loadout and the wings and things like that.
Yeah, they did say you don't have to have the Toys to Life stuff going, but there is that question of like how nefarious would they dare be? How dark will they go? And the answer, and we don't really know because Ubisoft's never really gotten into this stuff before.
I have a lot of questions about Starlink after having played it.
Yeah,
but that's quite a bit more interest than I had yesterday.
Yep.
Like having actually played it, this is a game I would definitely like to know more about.